Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. I have just seen Jurassic World Dominion, and the reviews of it before I saw it made me think the movie would be a lot worse than it actually was. I had very low expectations for this movie going into it. I didn't expect it to be anything resembling entertaining or watchable or anything like that. Now, the movie does have problems. I will concede that the first half of the movie is not great. Like, seeing what everyone's been up to, I could do without all of that. Like, having to explain where everyone's been for the last 4 years, again, don't necessarily need that to the degree that they go with in this movie. But ultimately, it is all just a mechanism, a lengthy, bloated, and overlong mechanism, I'll give you that, to get everyone explained as to where everyone is when this movie starts, and then eventually get them all to the Biosyn Sanctuary to confront to have the survival against the dinosaurs. Now, there is one thing I want to address, one thing that was at my screening that I feel needs to be touched on, because it's like, look, Jurassic Park has always had kind of an environmentalist message. That is kind of like the thing, where it's like, it's the story of like what we're doing to the environment, what impact humans have on the environment, and then like what happens if humans do things to the environment and leave it unchecked. It's science fiction in its most purest form. So, when I'm walking out of the theater and I hear someone complaining about woke propaganda pushing an environmentalist, leftist, globalist message, I immediately see, and here's the thing I don't think we address, is that a lot of movies that came out in the past, if they came out now, would not be as well received because of the perceived environmentalist, or not environmentalist, but globalist message. Globalist, leftist, whatever you want to call it. It's all kind of the same buzzwordy nonsense. That doesn't mean much of anything besides trying to rile up a subset of people. So, when I watch this movie, and I'm leaving the theater and I hear people complain about that, I'm thinking, like, did you not watch Jurassic Park or like anything like that? It's like, number one, if you're making science fiction and your science fiction is apolitical in any direction, you're doing science fiction wrong. You're not using the genre for what it should be used for. I'm not saying it's got to be overtly political every time, but science fiction exists as a method of showing people what's wrong with society using the mirror of science. And being like, look, here is what's going on, here is what happens if we take it to the end of the slippery slope, and look at what happens. Look at what could happen if we don't do what we should be doing. And that's I would say, valid way of storytelling, if you ask me. Like, I think that, like, that's an important thing. Whether you're doing it, right wing, left wing, I don't, like, but if you're doing it and your story's coming out without a message in one way or the other, then what's the point of telling the story? Why are you wasting your time if it's not going to have a message one way or the other? And the other thing is, it just shows this thing where it's like, people look back on things from their childhood, and not just their childhood, but from times in the past that aren't the present, and they look at them and they're like, oh, this is good, this happened when I was a kid, this is good, I liked this. So, looking back on it now, you're not going to look at it and be like, oh, look at how political this is, or look at how much it is. It's like, it's the entire movie is about man fucking with nature, and then doing that. Now, I will concede that I don't think we needed two different subplots that kind of dovetail together into getting everyone to the sanctuary. I don't think that's necessary. I do think that if they're going to take the route they did and make, Henry Wu redeemed, I think you have to do what they did. Otherwise, it's just, you need to have him, you need to have him save the day somehow. Now, that's what the plot of the movie is. Basically, you have, after the last one, Owen and Claire have adopted Maisie, the little girl, who's a clone. And they're raising her as if she's not a clone and she's their daughter. The problem is, because Maisie's a clone, people still want her. And they want her to be able to, to experiment on her and figure out what it is about her genome. Because apparently, everyone in a situation to know things about her, except for Owen and Claire, know everything there is to know about her. So they're doing, that, and so she gets kidnapped by poachers. Meanwhile, in the Midwest, there are these swarms of locusts that are there, and they keep going into farms and destroying crops. And the ones who aren't getting destroyed are crops that have seeds provided by biosyn. So these swarms of locusts are coming, and Ellie Sadler is going out there and and investigating, and she teams up with Alan Grant. They go to biosyn to find out more. I think my biggest problem with this movie, if there is a problem you have with this movie, is that there's not enough dinosaur action in a meaningful way. And what I mean by that is, in the first few movies, and even in the first two here, and I wouldn't, maybe not Fallen Kingdom, but definitely in the first, in Jurassic World, it felt like anyone could die. And it felt like there were stakes to people dying. In this movie, we see main characters routinely face off against dinosaurs, and we know they're not going to die. Because they're not going to kill off any of the main characters. They're not going to bring back legacy characters just to kill them off. They're not going to bring back, They're not going to bring back anyone else. They're not going to kill off Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard. They're going out of their way to, when you're in a situation where the Gigantosaurus, or whatever the fuck that thing is called, shows up, and you have the entire main cast there, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, they're not going to kill off anyone here. So, what's the risk? And then, the climactic fight between the T-Rex and the other thing with the fucking acrylic nails, and there's another dinosaur there, too, I thought. When they fight the Gigantosaurus at the end, it's like, well, who gives a shit? Alright, the T-Rex has already killed something, has already punched above its weight class once. But it's not like it's a different T-Rex, it's the same T-Rex they've had since Jurassic Park. I think the chase scene in, the chase scene in, the chase scene in Malta is just not entertaining. And I think there's a big visual effects problem in this movie because, like the other ones, it does try to blend CGI and animatronics, which is fine. But the problem is, if you don't do it well, you end up in this weird kind of situation where it makes both of them look worse. Because it makes it more apparent that it's an animatronic when it's a physical animatronic, and it makes it more aware that it's CGI when it's CGI. There's an early hunting sequence with Blue and Beta hunting in the woods, and I'm like, come the fuck on. Who the fuck thought this looked good? And they released it. This movie got delayed a few times, so, you couldn't do a second pass on the fucking effects to be like, oh, okay, well, let's fix that up a little bit. And it's just one of those things where it's it's not, the issue that I'm seeing more and more with visual effects now is not that, it's not that the effects are looking cartoony or something like that. It's that you can see the seams, you can see where characters are on different planes of existence from computer-generated images, and you can tell where, that's very obviously a green screen shot, and it's there's one part where Claire gets dropped out of a plane, and or she ejects from a plane, and she's falling through the air, and all of this, and it's very obvious that she's in front of a green screen with a GoPro in front of her. The GoPro is what's moving, and it's like the background around her is what's moving. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of like the same thing happened in Multiverse of Madness for me. Like, when Wanda shows up at Kamartaj and she's threatening everyone, and you see the shot of her in the sky, and it's just her standing in the sky above everyone else, it's like, alright, this is very obviously her standing in front of a green screen. Like, you can't make it look a little bit better? Like, come on. So, it's one of those things where it's kind of similar here. Where it's like, you know, we get these kind of moments where, like, you see the cracks in the thing. But at the end of the day, what I'm here to see across this entire movie is I'm here to see dinosaurs fighting dinosaurs. I'm here to see people hiding from dinosaurs, fighting dinosaurs. And the problem is, if I want to see someone hiding from dinosaurs, I need to feasibly believe there's a risk to their safety, or the character. I'm not saying I need to see Chris Pratt get gored for the movie to feel real to me, but what I'm saying is you need to have a sense that this character could die, or there's someone in this scene who could be feasibly at risk. And even if you put in one person who's there, and it's like, oh, well, this person's new, and this person's not important up until this point, so maybe this person could potentially find themselves being killed by this dinosaur, it doesn't really matter. Because then what happens is just like, oh, okay, well, this is the poor schlub who's going to bite it in this scene. And I think that, like, the first Jurassic Park movie did a good job of that and keeping you on your toes, because, you know, most people going into it probably didn't think Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard were going to die. Same with the two kids, because the kids tend to never die in Jurassic Park movies. But the problem is, like, basically everyone else in the movie was on the chopping block. There are a number of nice little callbacks throughout the movie to the past Jurassic movies, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Lost World, all of that. It's a cool way of homaging the past. I still have this recurring issue, though, with the Jurassic Park movies in general, or the Jurassic World movies in general, and that is they don't feel like they exist in a world where Jurassic Park, the movie that we saw, happened. And it's like like they keep referring to the incident at Jurassic Park, but the incident at Jurassic Park seems to be more like the incident that happened at Jurassic World for the sake of making the movie. And the way that they talk about the old park and all of that, I think I brought it up when we talked about Jurassic World back 7 years ago in 2015 when we addressed that. I think we did a commentary of it way back when. But I think that the issue is the same thing kind of happens in this movie, where it's like, you know, it functions best on the idea of Jurassic Park and the general idea of what that's about and what the movie, you know, was. It functions on your nostalgia's view of the original, not what the original actually was. Which, it's a fine way to do it. It's just making things in the movie contingent on that is part of the problem. And I also like the entire series of movies is contingent on It's contingent on like the idea that humans are bored of dinosaurs by the time Jurassic World starts, because like the entirety of Jurassic World and then ensuing Fallen Kingdom and now Dominion is all contingent on the Indominus Rex doing what the Indominus Rex did. Because had the Indominus Rex not done what the Indominus Rex did, then the park would still be open, then the volcano on Isla Nublar is going to explode, but then, InGen can just take them off the island and not have to worry about anything, and then there is no furthering down the line of what's going on. And I feel like Laura Dern, at two separate points in this movie, kind of blows a hole in it by pointing out, like, kids playing with dinosaurs, and it's like, at one point she sees the dinosaurs, it's like, that never gets old, and it's like, it's one of the things where it's like, there is one park on the planet, on an island off the coast of, if I remember correctly, Costa Rica, that has dinosaurs that you can go see. You mean to fucking tell me that kids are bored of dinosaurs to the point that Verizon Wireless needs to sit there and create the Indominus Rex? And by the way, while we're on the topic, the creation of the Indominus Rex by Verizon Wireless, it's so silly, because, like, what they should have done has been like, oh, InGen wanted us to create this, and Verizon's going to sponsor it. Not like, Verizon wanted to sponsor a new attraction, so we created the Indominus Rex. But, like, the issue that happens with this movie, and really all three of the new ones, is the idea that, like, seeing dinosaurs eat people doesn't matter if we don't care about who the people that are being eaten are. Otherwise, it's just gore for gore's sake. It's why horror movies that don't have the audience gain a connection to the victims don't work. If I don't care who's the person being eaten, or being stabbed, or being ripped apart, or anything like that, then what's the point? Like, look at, like, Halloween Part 2. Halloween Part 2 opens with a kill. It opens with the death of the girl who survives the first one. And the reason for that is, we know who she is. We have an emotional connection to this movie, considering it is a Part 2. And we're continuing the story. It's kind of like, if you don't have that emotional connection between me and the movie, and the characters who have their selves at risk, then why do I care? Why do I why is it such a big deal if these characters die? And besides the fact that they're people, but, like, if we're going through the streets of Malta and Chris Pratt is running around on a motorcycle and being chased by two raptors, and then we come out and these two dinosaurs are eating people on the street, it's like, well, what does that do? What does showing that do? It doesn't, it's like, do I need an establishing shot to explain that dinosaurs are dangerous? Like, I don't think that needs to be explained in the 6th Jurassic Park movie. I think we know there's an inherent risk to hanging around dinosaurs and dinosaurs being in the street. We don't need to have that sequence. Like, it doesn't add anything additional to the movie. Do I think that, that was... I don't think that's the worst. I mean, nothing will top the death of, what's her name from Supergirl? Katie McGrath in Jurassic World, where it's just over the top, ridiculous, and needless. And it's not like she did anything to deserve that, because that's kind of a thing that needs to happen too. It's like, if someone is going to die in a movie, like, they don't need to deserve death or anything like that, but, like, give me something to cling to. If you're not going to give me time to develop who they are and what they are as a character, at least give me them, give me a reason why they deserve this heinous way to, like, ridiculously over the top way to die. At least give me that. And if the movie doesn't give you that, then there's another issue at hand. What else was there with this? But, like, the thing is, it's like, once you get to the third act, or really the second half of the movie, or let's just say second, third, because it's not really the third act, but, like, let's say third act, or just before a third act starts, so, like, second, third of the movie. That's where the movie picks up and gets fun, and it's like, well, this is what I'm here to see. I'm here to see people running around, hiding from dinosaurs, dealing with these things, and not, dying, and not, I'm not here to watch them go and do espionage stuff, or go and, go undercover. Like, if I want to see that, I'll go see Fast and the Furious, which I'm sure it's going to cross over with at some point in the future. So, like, at least, keep the story somewhat, what's what I'm looking for here? Like, keep it, concise, and keep me entertained with what I'm here to see. In the same way that, like, if I'm going to see Fast and the Furious, like, and they don't show me fast cars doing insane stunts that really no one in the history of humanity should ever be able to do without the aid of a computer creating the image, then give me that. That's what I'm here to see. I'm not here to see a bunch of other nonsense. When it comes to, what was the other one? if I'm here to see Godzilla, don't give me a bunch of other bullshit. Give me Godzilla breaking shit, even though Godzilla also has an environmentalist message. And God forbid this poor guy at my movie theater see Godzilla from 1959 and figure that out for himself. So we'll wrap up there for today. I think we covered a lot of ground here. Jurassic World is now playing in theaters, and it is definitely worth your time to see. If only because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. And this may sound like a great endorsement of the movie, but really what it is more of an indictment of the rest of the series. But it's probably the third best Jurassic Park movie. So I would put it Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, then this. But then the bottom half of the movies are all awful because it's, I would say, what's it called? I would say Lost World, then 3, then Fallen Kingdom. Although Fallen Kingdom and 3 may switch spots depending on how I'm feeling that week. So it's worth checking out. So we'll wrap up there for today, and until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.